Hey everybody, what's going on? Brent here. Good to see you. Welcome back. If you're a subscriber to the channel, wondering where I've been, why I haven't posted in a while, things have been a little crazy and hectic with this coronavirus outbreak. But now that I'm on self-isolation, not going to work for a couple weeks, I figured I would make a video. So I've been talking to more and more people about Teslas and about EVs in general, and I've come to find out that there's a lot of misconceptions about the vehicles. And so I wanted to take today and talk about 5 common myths that I've been hearing and kind of dispel the rumors and get down to the facts of the matter. So without further ado, let's get into them. Okay, myth number 1, EVs aren't as green as they claim to be. What I'm hearing from people is that they saw a study or read an article or heard from a friend that, when you take into account the CO2 emissions from the car and battery production and then the emissions from electricity generation from power plants, it's just as bad, it's just as much pollution being put into the environment as a gasoline car. So I'm gonna break this down into 2 pieces. So the first piece, the manufacturing process of the vehicles. Now, while it is true, electric vehicles and batteries do produce more CO2 pollution than a gasoline car production process, the manufacturers have gotten better. They have streamlined their processes and they've brought those emission numbers down. So it's not as bad as it used to be, but it is still a little more polluting than manufacturing a gasoline car. But that's kind of where it stops. So part 2 of this is the more states and more countries are leaning towards clean, green, renewable sources of energy, and the CO2 emissions from the generation of electricity is far less than CO2 emissions from a car. So if you look over the lifespan of both an electric vehicle or a gasoline powered car, the EV it produces about a third as much CO2 pollution as a gasoline car does. All right, so myth number 2, people tell me that, okay, that's great. Well, if everyone buys an electric car, we're going to need more electricity to charge all those cars. And to get more electricity, we're going to have more power plants, which means more pollution going into the environment. Well, that's not exactly true either. So a lot of people that own EVs actually have solar panels on their houses. So they're generating their own clean electricity that's being used to charge the cars. If they don't have solar power, most EVs are charged at nighttime around midnight, 1 a.m., something like that, which is it's considered an off-peak time by most power production companies. So what that means is there's not a lot of people using electricity during that time of day anyway, so they have a surplus. So really, if everyone's charging their cars at night, not during the middle of the day, it's not going to be an issue. We're not going to need any more power plants. Studies have done the math on this and they've shown that that's absolutely true. Plus, by charging at night during those off-peak hours, most power companies actually give you a lower rate to kind of encourage that people use that electricity when not a lot of people are. Add to that the fact that Tesla and its superchargers are starting to upgrade them and putting their own Tesla solar and Tesla batteries into the superchargers. The superchargers themselves are generating clean electricity, not pulling it from the grid. All right, so myth number 3. People tell me, hey, that's great, but what about the batteries at the end of their life when they start degrading and you can't use them anymore, they're not charging fully? What are you going to do with all these electric car batteries? You're just going to take them out, throw them away, have to build new ones, and our landfills are going to be filled with electric car batteries. Well, that's not true. There's actually a law that has been put in place. Electric car batteries have to be recycled. So a lot of manufacturers are coming up with their own ways to recycle the batteries. Tesla currently uses third-party recyclers for all of their batteries. They take them, send them off, it gets recycled. Some other vehicle manufacturers are taking the batteries and putting them to use as just power storage for facilities, houses, buildings, stuff like that, not putting them back into cars. So they are getting recycled right now as it is. Tesla has taken a step farther though, and their Gigafactory in Nevada, they're actually It's about 30% complete right now. They're trying to continue building it out, but they're going to have complete in-house recycling of the batteries. They're going to recapture all of those precious minerals and things that have been put into the battery that can be reused again. They're going to take your battery out of your car. If it has an issue, they'll replace it with a new one, and then they will send it back to their factory. They'll break it down, recycle it, and they'll make new batteries out of your Tesla battery. So on top of that, Tesla's batteries are built in modules, so it's not the entire battery that has to be replaced if you lose any range or you see battery degradation. Tesla will take that module out, they'll put a new module in, and that individual module is sent back for recycling. So no worries, the batteries are not just going to be dumped in our landfills. All right, myth number 4. So people say, hey, that's great. I understand what you're telling me about EVs. They're clean and green and we won't need more power. That's awesome. But I'm going to be driving this thing every day. I'm going to be charging it every day. And it's not a phone. It's not a laptop. I mean, it's a car. So how much is my electricity bill going to go up by having to charge this car now? Well, if you remember back or look back or just want to click the card up in the corner, I did a video, a review of the car after I'd had it for a little while, and I kind of ran these numbers down. But here they are again using today's numbers. So in that video, I'd taken information. I drove the car for about a week to and from work, around town, just normal driving. And I drove about 230 miles. I used about 65 kilowatts of electricity. Using the national average right now, about 12 cents per kilowatt, that equates to about $7.75 is what it cost me to drive that car around for the week. So stretch that out over the whole year, 52 weeks, you're looking at about $400 over the course of a year to drive about 12,000 miles. Compare that to a gasoline car, 25 miles per gallon, and current prices are about $2.15 per gallon. The total cost to drive the gas car in gas prices would be about $1,000, just over $1,000. So yes, your electricity bill is going to go up about $400 per year, but you're also not paying $1,000 or a little more, $1,000 per year in gasoline costs. So you're actually saving about $600 per year. All right, myth number 5. This one gets everybody. Even if you own an electric vehicle, this concerns you. It's range anxiety. You know, I'm gonna run out of juice. So I'd driven the car for a little while after I first got it, and I was starting to get more and more comfortable with how much range and how far I could go. And I really didn't get super comfortable until I took my first long kind of cross-country trip. I went from North Carolina to Missouri, down to Georgia, back to North Carolina. Not once during that trip did I have to worry about running out of electricity. There was always a supercharger or, you know, another charging station that was available where I could get a little bit of juice. There's destination chargers at hotels that Tesla's got out there. There's just tons and tons of places for you to charge the car. So running out of juice shouldn't be a concern. It will be, but it shouldn't be, I can tell you. I tell people that and they say, hey, that's great, but what about, 5 years down the road after the battery started to degrade? What about then? Am I still going to run out? I can say absolutely not. So if you didn't see it, I'll put it up in the corner why I had to get rid of my Tesla Model S when I moved to Germany. But during that whole process, Tesla gave me a loaner Model S. Now, it was about 5 years old, so it was kind of in that prime for, okay, maybe the battery's starting to degrade. Well, I would charge the car up to 90% before I'd leave the house, and I would drive from my house all the way up to work, which is about 60 miles. I would drive about 10 or 20 miles kind of in and around that area, drive back down to the supercharger, which is past my house, so I was going probably 65 miles to get to the supercharger. And after all that driving, I was only at about 50% battery remaining when I get to the supercharger, maybe 45 depending on how I drove. It is the Autobahn, and the faster you go, the more juice you use. But I was able to go all that distance and get to the supercharger, charge up. I would sit there for about 20 minutes, charge to about 80%, drive the 5 miles to my house, plug it in, charge overnight. I'd be back at 90% ready to go the next day. So with all the different charging stations, Tesla and non-Tesla included, There are plenty of places where you can charge the car and you won't run out of juice unless you're, I don't know, in Alaska out in the middle of nowhere. But that's not something that you should worry about. If you're curious kind of about the different charging stations and different charge ports and the different apps that are available, drop a comment down below in the comment section and let me know. Maybe I'll do a video on that. So that about sums it up. That's 5 common misconceptions I've been hearing a lot lately from people the more I talk to them about Teslas and EVs in general. So if you had some of these same questions, I hope this answered them. If you have questions that I didn't talk about, drop it down below in the comment section and I'll get back to you. And who knows, if there's enough of them, maybe I'll just do another video like this and answer them all together. If you've been on the fence, but now you're kind of decided that you want to buy a Tesla, down in the description section is my Tesla referral code. You can use that to get you 1,000 miles or 1,500 kilometers of free supercharging. Doesn't do anything for me right now because I don't have a car, but it gets you something for free. So definitely feel free to use that. Also down there are some Amazon links to some cool stuff you might want to get if you are going to get a new Tesla, or if you're curious what kind of gear I'm using to record this, I'll put that down there as well. So as always, thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, helps me out, and then hit the bell so you can know when the next video comes out if you're curious. If not, don't hit it, that's fine. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. As always, it's good to see you, and I will see you next time. Take care.